Okay, some sound. Oh, that's so weird.
Oh, you can hear it?
Yeah. Oh no.
Isn't that cool? Super cool, right?
You sound really far away still. Oh, I guess your
Do
mic
I?
is. Yeah.
Do I still sound far away?
No, that's better.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird.
Why is that?
Because my voice sounds very like low and sexy in my head, and then I hear it on tape or I hear it
Oh,
recording,
wow.
and I'm like, oh, it's so high. How do people listen to me?
So that's what you were going for the whole time? I want my voice to sound like low and sexy?
I don't think I'm
Good to know.
going for it. In my own head, it just sounds like that.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
yeah.
In my head, it's like, I don't know. What's a good
Oh, I never saw that tattoo.
celebrity?
What is that tattoo?
This one?
Yeah.
It was kind of like from a trip to BC, but then also just based on, I don't know, life things. It's a very white girl tattoo, but it's like the mountains and tree and a tent and water and stuff. And it just like...
Cool. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I should... Forearm is the place where I feel like my first tattoo should be. Yeah.
It's a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first one.
Well, what is that?
That is shalom. So it means peace.
Okay.
It's Hebrew, which is really funny because every time someone sees it, they always ask if I'm Jewish. And I'm not. But it was like based on a missions trip that I went on. That just held a lot of significance and a lot of meaning and kind of dramatically changed the trajectory of my life. And so, I don't know. It's like would I get it today? No, but I'm glad that I have it. Do you know what I mean? And I think the meaning has changed so much for me over time. Like, they did it wrong, actually. So if you feel it, it's like bumpy.
Okay.
So the tattoo place where I went to get it, like they didn't
Isn't
know
that
what
how
they
it-
were doing.
Show me?
No.
Show me the other one. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Why is it bumpy?
So the place that I went, again, I was like 18 years old. I didn't know what I was doing. And my friend and I were like spontaneously like, yeah, let's go get tattoos. It had been something that I thought about for like 3 years, but the place that we went was kind of like the McDonald's of tattoos. So they didn't really know like when to stop. And so kind of when the skin gets really pancakey, like that kind of texture, they should stop tattooing, and they obviously didn't. So it's all, the whole thing is scar tissue, but because it's bumpy, like I can feel it, you know? So when I get really stressed out or when I'm like in a situation where I'm really overwhelmed, I can just feel it and go like, oh yeah, peace. Like there's a reason that I have this on my body. This is really important to me. Like I need to breathe and I need to relax.
Think about positive thinking.
Right. Yeah. Like I should probably go back to them and be
Yeah.
like, you fucked up my arm. But honestly, it's yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. But it was kind of fun because I would always like, I'd be working at Shoppers Drug Mart and I'd be really stressed out, and somebody would come through the line and I'd be cashing out their groceries, and then as it goes, they'd be like, oh, what does your tattoo mean? And I'd have to be like, oh yeah, peace. Like I'm in the middle of exams, but breathe, take a minute, slow down. And so, yeah.
I contemplate tattooing from time to time.
Doing it or getting one?
No, the idea of tattooing. Why is it so cool? Why am I not getting it?
Huh.
Yeah, what is so cool about it? Okay, if I were to get it,
Yeah.
do I have something meaningful enough that I want to put a permanent mark on my skin on, right? It's, I've seen some interesting examples. There's this young guy, Iman Ghatzi, probably younger than me, but he's just like, he's done well for his life, and he's one of the influencers, like very strong influencers on social media, and he has a tattoo on his forearm, and that says something along the lines of private victory. And the story behind this he spends most of the time with himself, and all the public victories are out there and people see it, but public victories come as a result of like thousands of small private victories, It could be a habit change. It could be all those things which people don't really see except for himself. So this tattoo kind of reminds him of all the private victories. So now that's a cool story to have, and it's a meaningful tattoo to have, right? So yeah, but that's where I get the idea, right? But overall, there's this perception about people who have tattoos, they're cooler. But I try to contemplate that and go like, okay, why is that? I just want to understand it. You know? I'm not saying yes or no to it. I'm just trying to understand why. Why.
Yeah, and I think there's like the stereotype of like once you get your first tattoo, it has this really deep meaning and it's really like intense and you can talk about it for hours, and that's true. And then you get to your third and you're like just getting a hamburger on your arm because that's something you like and you think it looks cool, right? So I think I think it's something that as you do more of it, like the meaning does change. But I don't know, for me it's always been really important. Just whatever I have on my body, it feels like an expression of myself. So yeah, this is a super white girl tattoo, absolutely. But these are all things that are really important to me. Like there is no place on earth that I feel more centered, more grounded than when I'm out in nature. There is like no time in my life that I feel like things are more connected or calm, or things don't make sense until I'm in the woods or in a kayak or in a tent or touching a mountain.
Fair enough.
So there's always something to me where, yeah, you can probably get me to talk for hours about my tattoos. Just because, again, I think there's a meaning when I went to go get them, and then the meaning changes throughout my life as I interact with different things or as I interact with different people.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of getting tattoo on my body would be that expression that I have about point A to point B. I've told you that before, right? So it's about, for me, life is about point A being my birth, point B being my death. When I get to point B and look back at the whole journey from point A to point B, I want that journey from point A to point B, that story, to be a fascinating story filled with experience. So that's the only thing I would, at this point in time, contemplate getting a tattoo on me. Something along the lines of point A to point B.
Yeah. Which would be a cool tattoo?
I don't know. Let's see.
I mean, I'm not an artist, right? But working with somebody who is an artist and being able to like bring that concept, I think that's such a cool thing too.
Oh, my buddy, best boy, Rijo. He's a tattoo artist in India.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe I should get it from him.
There you go.
More meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's something too, I don't know, as I've gone through different points in my life, I have probably like 10 tattoos that I want to get and I just haven't yet. But it's always like, I don't know, so much changes in your life. Like there are these pivotal. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pivotal moments that just change everything. Yeah. I appreciate that you helped me out with my English.
Of course.
But I like, for me, I think it's just like having that symbolism, and it's okay. I know it's like so cliche to say, but it's not for other people. Pardon?
You speak very fluently.
I do?
Yeah. You don't have an accent.
I thought that was going to be a compliment. No, it was a dig. It's fine.
No, that's what I get all the time, right? I take it as a compliment, though, based on where I come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
People will tell you that you speak fluently without an accent.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, when did you move here? 2015. Oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, you don't have an accent. Thank you. I faked it for the most part. It just became reality. Right? Thank you. You know? Yeah, for all those friends who are like, why are you speaking like that? Yes, I've made it.
Just the moment. Mm-hmm. What was the reason behind that, though? Was that like, I don't know, did you want to...
fit in.
Okay.
No, when I came in, 2015, I was 17, turning 18. Fortunately, there was only 2 international students in the school at the time. Most of them are locals, and me being me, I just wanted to make friends with locals, not international students, right? Like, so I was trying to get in that circle, right? And I started faking my accent, and all my friends at my home, my roommates, they were like, "Why are you talking like that? Why are you talking like that? Why do you sound like that? You don't have, it's weird. Stop sounding like that, right?" Then I landed a job in a Burger King, which is also mostly filled with locals here. So I had conversations with them multiple times over and over and over and over and over and over. And in 2018, I landed a job at a corporate. Again, I get to spend time with people from here for the most part. So I picked up on language. Then I started reading books. So it kind of like finally grinded it out to a point where I can now naturally speak for the most part with no accent. Yeah, but it's something I constantly work on. I mean, there are still words out there which I cannot say right. Yeah. So I kind of like, okay, I made a mistake there. Let me make a mental note. Let me try to correct it. Yeah. And I like it. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're hard on yourself? Like if you trip up on a word or something?
Yeah, it takes a dig in my confidence right away, right? And then, but I like that. Yeah, I like that. And then I go, all right, so what's the right way to say it? The thing is, I'm getting most of the words right these days. It's few words that I don't get right, right? And it's easy to make, I feel like, that first leap. But then fine-tuning it takes time. And also you have to intentionally make an effort, right? So that's where I'm like working right now, Yeah. Slowly. Yes.
Was it like, I don't know, like, yeah, I guess I'm wondering, like, did you feel like you didn't fit in if you weren't?
Put it this way. Think about the positives that came out of fitting in. Right now I can do a street video in a random park in London. Go up to someone from here and have a conversation. I can understand. It's community. Language is such an integral part of communication. It's very important you understand the vocabulary. It's very important you understand the culture. So I'm glad I listened to Joe Rogan. I'm glad I listened to books on Audible. This gives me this lets me understand a person from here. Like if I was constantly consuming content from back home, when I have a conversation with someone from here, I would understand it from a superficial level, but I won't be able to get into a deep, meaningful conversation. Right now, I can talk to someone from back home and understand it at a deep level because I speak that language very well. And I get to do the same with people from here because I have a decent communication skills in this language as well. So the ability to understand another individual has considerably increased, for which I am extremely happy for. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is it like, so I've heard the theory that if you speak different languages, you kind of have different personalities.
Oh, yeah. When I go back home, like in India, I'm not waiting in no line. I'm just pushing people over, getting ahead. I don't fucking care. I'm getting my shit done and getting out of the way, right? Because I tried to be polite there, and you're just going to be at the end of the line waiting for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Getting and talking to someone, right? I'm pushing the doors open, going into the rooms and having a conversation. I just adapt 100%, right? I leave my nice clothes and I put a dhoti, Indian cloth, and a shirt. I walk around like a local, again, because it's hot. Things like this is going to make it really warm. The dhoti is going to open inside, so you get the fresh air. It's nice, right? So I go complete local. I adapt 100%. When I'm here, I adapt, right? Here, I don't cut someone off. I mean, I try not to cut someone off when I'm driving. I wait in the line.
Like, I've been in a car
polite.
with you.
Yeah. I open the door for other people. I'm a gentleman. You go back home, you don't see that. Who the fuck is this guy? I'll be completely opposite. Yes.
Do you ever bring that personality here? Or it's always separate for you?
It's always separate. See, again, going back to what I was saying, point A to point B, having the best experience. For me to experience my country fully, I have to be one of them. Right? Do you think you will have an equal experience like a local Mexican versus you going to Mexico for 2 weeks? Probably not.
No,
the local
never.
Mexican is going to have better experience. So when I go there, I don't want to be a Canadian Indian. I'm not a Canadian Indian. I was born there. I was raised there for 17 years. I know exactly how to behave here. So I'm going to be exactly that. Experience it fully. Take it all in. Right? Now I come here Now to experience this country, now I need to go to draft breweries, behave like the people here, enjoy music, sit back and relax. You know, like I don't want to bring my culture here. If I want my culture, I'll take a flight ticket, go to my country. No. When I'm here, I experience this culture.
I guess like,
because there's so much to experience. You know, like. Yeah.
Do you feel like, I don't know, do you feel like there's a consistent you in between it all?
Yeah, point A to point B. That's me, consistent.
So you should really get that tattooed.
You think so? Yeah, me too. But I'm like, where would I get it? Where would I get it? How would I get it? Should this to be like, point A to point B, a symbol diagram? Should it be more than that? Like, so it's so many questions to answer. But yeah, that's a good place to start a tattoo, I feel like. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I just think like.
But that story, it helps so much to maintain a consistent me. Because I really understand, okay, how am I supposed to behave? All right, point A to point B, it's about experience. Okay, let me have the best experience.
How often do you think of that?
Every day.
Do you really?
Yeah, like when I was out last week, Saturday, with Diana, at this point it's subconscious too, right? When I was with Diana, the real estate agent who I went out with Saturday, so my knees were like, shaking because just walking up to like random people, pushing a mic in their face and having a conversation, right? It looks cool on Instagram and like and all that stuff, but you don't appreciate these people enough. You go like, oh, that's easy. No, it's not fucking easy. It's hard. It's fucking hard. I
feel like that's your thing too. You do that all the time.
I can do that on a very subtle level. Like, like when I'm at Montreal or when I'm in speed dating events or something like that, the premise is already set. These people are looking for friends. And I'm not looking to put them on social media. My fundamental intention is to have a deep conversation with these guys. Here I have another intention, which is basically put them on social media. Right? So it's a bit intrusive. Right? And these guys are in a park, right? Maybe playing with their kids. Some of them wants to talk, right? But then I took myself there and I'm like, I get out of my car and I'm like, I'm still scared. I'm like, I'm like, what else do I have to do now, right? Like, so I was like really frustrated, or like not frustrated, but I'm scared. So now, and I was having this conversation with Diana, and Diana went, it's about having fun doing it. Because if you do have fun doing it, we're going to do it again. And for a moment I was like, okay, I should have fun doing it. And then I had fun doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we had conversations sometimes. So we had conversations, and then if the people say no, me and Diana would be having a deep conversation throughout the 3 hours. So we go to people. It was almost like me and Diana spending time in park, and then in the interim, like, we go talk to random people. They say no, we just go back to our conversation.
You're bringing people into it.
Yeah, so we're just walking around, two people having a conversation. In the meantime, we go up to someone, ask this. Oh, we see someone. Okay, we should go talk to them. We go, no, and me and Diana would go right back to the conversation we were having. We're having fun, and then we'll go. It was that. Yeah, so I didn't feel like it, right? So now, coming back to what I was saying, it added to the experience. So whether actively thinking about it or not actively thinking about it, yeah, point A to point B is just, yeah.
I think my like similar thread to that has just been like whatever it is of just being like, you know what? It'll be 10 minutes or it'll be 3 hours or it'll be a day. So it's like anything you're nervous about, it's like, it's sad and depressing sometimes when you think about it, but everything ends. Like there's always an end to everything. Things change too, but there's also always an end. And I'm trying to tell myself that a little bit more going into something. This could be really bad or this could be really good. You know what? It's an hour of my life. Let's see what happens.
How about this for a perspective, okay? There's this actor from my part of the country, Mammootty, that's his name. He was doing an interview the other day with someone from Middle East. So they asked him random questions because they don't really understand our culture, so they asked him really good questions. And he's 41 years into movie industry. He's been acting for 41 years, and he's been at the top for the whole 41 years, right? And he goes, to this day, when I sign up for a new movie and I start shooting, I'm nervous. So he asked, so how do you manage that? You just have to survive. So putting that into perspective, you just have to put yourself in situations. You have to survive.
And it's such a hard thing. Like, sometimes the emotion really takes over, and it's, even though I have the best of intentions and I'm like, yep, this is the thing, I'm going to do this, and it's terrifying, but I'm going to move into this and see what happens. And then you get close to that moment and you're like, not today. Today's not the day that I can do this. Like, if I go into this today, I think it's like what you said. It is also what you're putting into something. And so if you're going in with only fear, it's probably not going to turn out in the way that you want to. Like, you need to bring something else in with it. And so sometimes it's that moment of like, well, not today. You know, the fear is taking over right now. What can I do to kind of take a step back and then bring something else?
Think about every uncomfortable thing you've signed up for in the past. Take a minute, think about it. You did? How many out of those things did you fail at? How many of those things did you have cool experience with?
It's true.
Did you not have cool experience with most of it?
Probably every time, yeah. Actually,
and you're sitting here today. You survived.
Yeah.
Everything in life.
I think, so I saw a video the other day. I think it's going around social media, so it's not new. But it was this idea of like, for anything you want in life, you have to be able to step into the uncomfortable. So if you want to be rich, you have to be willing to be poor for a while. Like, you need to be willing to live on less, right? Or if you want a relationship, you have to be willing to be a little lonely for a while, because you might not find the person right away. Like, there's so many things. If you ever want to take a step in life, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in the middle.
It's everything is a journey. Every single thing you look at individually, it's a journey. And at the end of all of it, that's all you have. At the end of all of it, when you look back, all you have is basically the whole thing. Okay, this is how it went. Right? Okay, I want to buy a Lamborghini, maybe, or I wanted to buy a Tesla. Got the Tesla. You're not. You have stronger emotions about the story that got you there versus the thing itself. Right? You pat on your back because of what you have survived, not because today. Or that's the way I think, right?
It's almost made more meaningful.
Yeah, because of the backstory.
Yeah. I like
right?
that.
Like, when I went to Montreal and then had that trip, okay, I am here. I'm lonely. I have to survive this thing, though. So I have to make friends. I survived. Came out with a good story. We're humans. We will try to survive. We'll try to adapt. I mean, these are all survival techniques, right? Adapting, getting better, like getting smarter, getting wiser. Yeah, it's just as you get older, you sign up for less things. The problem is when you're young, you sign up a ton of things, so you don't survive at a lot of things. You give up, right? But as you get older, I feel like you realize, okay, time is worth a ton. So don't sign up for a ton of meaningless stuff. Sign up for things that you really want to do. You have to kind of like take off the things that you don't really want to do, and then you just keep surviving in different things.
I think the one thing I was reminded of by a friend recently, though, is like, growth isn't linear. Like, any progress that you make in your life is never ever like a straight shot up. It's always, like you've talked about, the mountains, right? The
I got a
peaks and the
better
valleys.
analogy for it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
So it's by Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is kind of like the father for all these motivational speakers these days, like Anthony Robbins and Les Brown. These guys were all basically from school of Jim Rohn. But what I like about Jim Rohn is he doesn't have all those Pentecostal, all that stuff. He's just like straight to the point and just implement it. You can not like he passed, right? Really cool guy. So he says life in business is like seasons. So first season winter, you have to learn how to handle winters. Winters are the time when you're depressed, when you don't see the lights at the end of the tunnel, when you seem not to figure it out, like you're just stuck. In winter, the only thing you can do is get better, get smarter, and get wiser. And then there comes spring. Spring is filled with opportunities, left, right, and center. Now, you can plant in spring. If you don't, you will end up begging in fall. Now, you can be a sophisticated beggar, but you don't want that reputation. Then you have summer. Summer has that hope of harvest in fall, but it also has noxious weeds trying to take your crop out. So you have to be like a mother, nourish all the opportunities, but be like a dad and kill all the weeds. And then you have fall, which is harvest. Here, you have to take personal responsibility for your results. Whether it's bad or good, it's not the crop, it's not the seasons, it's you. And the peak of maturity comes from no apologies if you have done well, and no complaints if you haven't.
I like it, but I think this goes back to where you and I differ, where I still see such a role of external factors in life. And there's so many things beyond your control. So if you want to go with that analogy and you want to go through like the planting seasons, like, yeah, what if you have that really mild winter? What if you have that really cold spring? What if you have a drought and there's no water and your crops don't grow, right? And yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think life is seasons, 1,000%.
So that for the next seasons, you look at it and go, okay, there's a possibility of drought.
There's learning, yes.
How can I plant something that would survive even if there's a drought?
Absolutely.
Or how can I
be okay if it doesn't?
Yeah, how can I find a solution for the drought?
Yes.
Then you get better. You get smarter. So you get another chance. Then you get another chance. And with every single chance, you're getting better. So it is like this. Yeah. For me, the analogy, what it did for me is just to be aware of where, like based on my mental state, okay, I am in my winter right now.
Yes.
Maybe I'm in my summer right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about having these fundamental philosophies and principles set. Because once you have it set, then it's easy for you to make decisions for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, it's almost like your guiding principles. I think something that I've been processing lately and something that I've been realizing is that things are a lot less set than you believe them to be sometimes. And so kind of in this example and where I've kind of come to this, what do you know about attachment styles?
Not a lot. I think I've heard it.
Yeah.
But I haven't spent much time learning about it.
Yeah.
Teach me.
And I won't go into all the details of it either. But the basics is that there is secure attachment and there's insecure attachment. And a secure attachment is like your parents have reliably been there for you. You've been able to form a secure bond with them, and then that will likely translate into later relationships. If someone is insecurely attached with their parents.
Okay, I'd like to learn more about both, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But if someone is insecurely attached with their parents, something has happened, or there's been a relationship with their parents, or their parents' attachment style has contributed to how they connect. And so it's that idea of like, you can start from a baby and how that infant is connecting to their parents will kind of follow them throughout their life. So your primary relationship is with your caregivers, whoever that is, whether that's your parents or your grandparents. But that initial bond then becomes the basis for your other significant relationships through your life. So sometimes it affects your friendships. Most of the time it's like romantic relationships. So, and then later on with your kids and what you pass on to them. And so typically someone falls into either secure attachment or insecure attachment. Secure attachment is most of the population. Like most people are securely attached with their parents. Their parents have been reliably there for them and cared for them. There's a theory, I think it's like parents have to show up for their kids 30% of the time to form a secure attachment. Like it's a very, very low percentage for parents to reliably be there for their kids, whether that's physical needs or emotional needs or whatever that is. And that forms that secure attachment. So most people are securely attached, but if somebody falls in that insecure attachment side, then there's different variations of that. So there's like the 3 ones that I know of. There's probably more, but the 3 that I know of are anxious attachment, avoidant, and disorganized. And so anxious is, if you think of that person who maybe they're talking with a new boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever, and they send a text and they don't hear from that person for like say an hour, and they're losing their mind. They're like, why aren't you texting me back? What's going on? Why don't you love me anymore? I need you here. Like that kind of thing. That would be an anxious attachment. And that would likely be formed by, you know, a parent who wasn't reliably there for them. The way that they were able to receive their parents' love or connection was if they were desperately asking for that connection. So like in anxious attachment, they would likely, the only way that they would have been able to connect with their parent is if they had that kind of response to their parent of like, look at me, I need you, I'm going to scream and yell and cry, and then that's going to get your attention, and then we're going to be able to have connection, and I'm going to have my needs met. And then you've got avoidant. That's has probably been hurt and not had their needs met a few too many times. So now if they get in a situation where they're like they may be hurt or there's conflict or something like that, that person will shut down, and they will either like go completely silent, give the silent treatment, walk away from a situation, walk away from a relationship. They're like, I don't need you. And so with them, their parents, again, probably didn't show up for them, didn't give them attention, didn't give them the time of day. And no matter what that kid did, their parents would never give them that. And then you have disorganized. And disorganized is a little bit messier, so I don't really want to get into it and talk about it. But it's a little bit of both. And that's probably the most rare of all of them. But it's a bit of anxious and a bit of avoidant. So you're kind of cycling back and forth.
Oh, perfect. I find my bucket. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Disorganized. That's my bucket.
Disorganized.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and different, like, your relationship with your parents, like, it doesn't necessarily dictate all of your relationships throughout your life. And, like, again, with friendships, it usually doesn't affect friendships as much. It's just a different quality of relationship. There's just a different
but I feel like if you're getting a life partner and all that stuff, it comes into play, right? Yeah, sorry, go
exactly.
on. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, so my life, I was an avoidant attachment style. I would get in a conflict and I would run the fuck out of there. I was like, I'm not sticking around. I am like, I don't need you. I'm independent as hell. I don't need anybody. I am good. So if you want to hurt me or you want to get close to me, I'm going to run like hell. And if you follow, maybe we can have a conversation, but probably don't follow because I just want my space. And I'm going to come back to you when I'm ready, or I won't, and I don't like you, and I'm done.
Good for you. You've got one solid thing. Yeah. Just avoidance. Man. Well, imagine if you were disorganized, you had to deal with both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. This is perfect. You just have to work on that one thing. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
But I think what So that usually your attachment style, yes, they can change over a lifetime, and I knew that, and I knew that I was aware of that. But what I didn't realize is how dramatically that can happen. And so over some of the stuff that I went through in this last year, like I formed a really close relationship. I was having my emotional needs regularly being met, and then that was taken from me. And I'm finding, okay.
From your parents or from all the relationships you were having?
Well, with the relationship that I had, and that was affected.
No, but you're saying all your things were met, like all your...
Yeah, so
right?
my emotional needs were regularly met by one person that was there and receptive to that. And I think that was the first person in my life who had been able to emotionally meet my needs.
Oh, okay.
And who I had ever let meet my emotional needs. I think that's the other part of it, because I usually wouldn't let people close enough.
Oh, very nice. Nice. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Who's this person?
This was my roommate.
Nice. Go on.
But then that relationship ended very suddenly, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think I knew it affected me, and I had a really strong reaction to that, and it was a long time of grieving, but I didn't realize how much it affected me until now, when I've kind of started stepping into the dating pool again, and I'm talking to a new person, and I'm so excited about this. But I think my attachment style has changed, and I think I might be more anxious now than avoidant. And so this is something that I thought was like a core part of myself. Like
that's exactly where a guy wants you to be at. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, and I was always like a guy in relationships, right? Like I was like, I don't fucking need you. I'm good. I'm independent. Like I don't need no man. And I think then when I got that taste of like having my emotional needs met, now there's something in me that's like, ooh, like I need that and I want that, and that would feel really good if I was able to have that again. And so the way that I'm responding to this new relationship is like nothing that I have ever experienced before in my life, and I hate it. I'm anxious as hell.
So you're texting back on time?
I am like over texting. I'm initiating texting.
Wow, that must be different. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's incredibly different.
Yeah, cool.
And I don't like it. I'd rather go back to the avoidant.
No, you like it. You're blushing.
No, I like. I'm intrigued, but
there you go.
What I think I didn't realize, and again, this goes back to that thing that I'm processing, is like as we're talking about the different seasons in life and the different phases you go through and all those things. That's kind of why I push back and say like, no, I think external factors are really, really important. Like I thought this core part of myself, my avoidant style of dealing with things, like my not texting people back, my consistent, wanting to run into the middle of the woods and not talk to anybody for 5 days, like that has shifted. And I didn't know that was possible. And it shifted really suddenly. And so I think it's that aspect of like, there are things outside of your control to such a degree that like your foundation can be shaken, and the things that you thought were set aren't always set, and the person that you thought you were isn't always set. And I think that's throwing me this week, which is why I texted you yesterday and said I want to pick your brain about this, because it's new. And I think you have such a view of like progress and moving forward and the whole lifespan. And so,
Yeah. For me, okay, so what are you expecting from me? My take on it?
Yeah. Your take.
My take on it?
Yeah.
My take on it is I get everything I want. I do. I do. I get absolutely everything I want. The way it typically works is I put it out there. And okay, so have you ever read the book The Alchemist?
No.
No, okay. Let me do a quick summary without absolutely butchering, because it's my favorite book, period. I go back to it every 2 weeks and finish reading it every 2 weeks. Every time I read it, it tells me a new story. Yeah. So the story is a boy. I'll give you baseline. A boy grew up in a farm. His parents wanted him to be a priest to make his family proud. Boy was intrigued by the foreigners who used to come to his place and explore. And the boy said he wants to travel like these foreigners. His dad said, the foreigner says, this is the most beautiful place on earth. The boy says, but I want to travel. So dad says, you don't have the money. We're just a regular family. The only way you can travel is becoming a shepherd. He ends up becoming a shepherd. One day he's sleeping under a sycamore tree by a church which is kind of run down. And he has this wild dream of going to an Egyptian pyramid and finding a treasure. Now he's on his way back. He stops by the gypsy woman who can basically translate the story or help him with the story. She says, you're going to go find the treasure, and if you do that, give me 1/10. The boy thinks, okay, this is a gypsy trick. And the boy goes to the town, and he's excited because now when he goes to give the wool out to a merchant in the town, he had met with his daughter last year, and he's excited to talk to her again. But then he ends up running into a king who tells him about his dream again. And then he thinks it's the gypsy woman's husband trying to grab more money. But turns out this guy says the kid's life story. The kid gets impressed. And the king says, if you want something and if you try for it, the whole universe will conspire for you to get there. Now the boy, and the king says, sell your sheeps, give me 1/6 of your sheeps, sell the rest of the sheeps, travel. The kid travels to an Arab country from where he can go to Egypt. He ends up meeting someone at a pub or one of those coffee shops, and the one guy says, I'll help you travel to Egypt. He steals his whole money. The kid ends up going to a crystal merchant, and he says, okay, I'll clean your glasses, buy me food. Boy ends up working with the crystal merchant, and boy says, give me enough money to go to Egypt, I'll work for you the whole day. He says, buddy, you work for the whole day, you're not going to have enough money to go to Egypt. Right? Maybe I'll give you enough money to go back home. And he says, no, I have to buy sheep too. The kid ends up working with the crystal merchant for a month or two. Decided he will make enough money and go back. He gets to that point. He then decides to go to Egypt instead of going back. He gets on a camel. There's a war going on. He gets to an oasis where he's going to meet the alchemist. Right? Alchemist is the guy who speaks the language of the world, the wind. He can convert copper into gold. Like he's this mythical person who speaks the language, who's 200 years old. The boy stays there. In the oasis, he meets a beautiful girl, Fatima. He falls in love. He doesn't want to travel anymore, and he sees a sign where two falcons attack each other, which is a sign of war coming in. And typically, oasis is a place where it's a peace zone. Nobody fights. The boy says this to the people, the head of that oasis, and he says, well, if the armies show up, we kill. For every 10 army men we kill, we give you 1 gold. If they don't show up, at the end of the day, if the warriors take out their sword, they have to kill someone. They have to get blood. You will be dead. The army ends up showing up, and the kid, they kill 50 or 500 army men. The kid gets 50 gold coin. He's rich. He has the love of his life. He's rich. But the alchemist had an interaction with him and said, come meet me. And there's so much details that I'm missing. The kid goes to the alchemist, and alchemist says, let's go to Egypt. He'll help you. The kid goes, why would I go to Egypt? I'm a rich man. I've got the love of my life. And the guy goes, well, that's true. You guys are going to be happy for a year. But you will stop listening to after a year, these thoughts you're having about your dream, they will start haunting you. That you didn't go. You will be filled with regret. You didn't go for your personal legend. You didn't go for your personal legend. And it keeps increasing, and after 5 years or so, it just leaves you. And for the rest of your life, you will have very sad life, and you're going to resent Fatima, and she's going to be sad because you're not able to love her. And Fatima says, I'm a woman of the desert. My personal legend is, for me, my whole life I thought the desert will bring me a gift, which it did. It's you. But that's not your personal legend. Your personal legend is the treasure in Egypt. You should go for it. And I will wait for you. And the kid continues his journey. He goes, he meets with people on the way, and then at some point he reaches out to a tribe, a war tribe, and Alchemist says this kid can talk to wind and he can convert himself into wind. The kid goes, why would you say that? Like, why would you say that? Like, we're going to be dead. Oh, I'm not going to be dead because I know how to convert myself into wind. You're going to be dead. And the kid learns how to convert himself to wind. He learns how to speak the language of the world. And the kid, and they travel further, and then these guys go to a monk. At this point, the kid has lost all the 50 coins because the alchemist gave it away to the tribe. The alchemist makes a big round gold, makes it into 4 equal halves, give 1 to the monk for hosting them, 1 to the kid for the lost coins, 1 for when he gives it to the monk says, thank you for hosting all the pilgrimage, right? Thank you for the service and gift. And the monk goes, oh, this is too much. And the alchemist goes, don't say that because life might be listening. And then, so the monk gets 1 piece, the kid gets 1 piece, the alchemist gets 1 piece, and the alchemist gives 1 more piece to the monk and says, if the kid ends up coming back, this is to give to the kid. And the kid goes, why would you? I'm so close to Egypt, like, why would you? Like, I don't need it. Like, you already gave me a big chunk. If something happens twice, it's bound to happen 3rd time. You already lost your gold twice. You most likely will lose the 3rd time. The kid goes to the Egypt pyramids, start digging for the treasure. Robbers end up showing up. They takes all the gold coin away from the kid. And as the robbers were leaving, one robber turns around and says, you're fucking stupid. You made all this, the whole trip to Egypt to look for treasure? I had a dream like this years ago. I was sleeping under a sycamore tree in a rundown church, and I digged under the tree and I got my treasure. But I never made that trip. I'm not fucking stupid. You're stupid. Now the kid is filled with joy. He travels back. He digs under the sycamore tree where he used to sleep as a shepherd, and he ends up finding all this treasure. And now he's set to go back to Fatima. That's life for me.
I feel like I'm taking things from that, but what do you take from that?
What do I take from it?
Yeah.
I told you, this is point A to point B, and at the end of B, I want to have a great story. And I have a very definite path where I want to do it towards the end. I think I know I'm realizing my calling, and that's getting the strong emotions behind that calling is getting stronger and stronger as every day go. I think I know my personal legend, where I want to be, right? And it's about that journey from this point to there. There will be external factors, left, right, and center. There will be people at the coffee shop pretends to be friends, and they will steal from me. There will be wars in the path. There will be places where people are to kill me. There will be places where they will test my skills. When I get to the final destination, I may get robbed again. But at the end of the day, it's about going on that journey, and just you as an individual get to react. You can choose to react the way you want to react, regardless of the external factors. At the end of it, if I get to my personal legend, I fulfill it, that's awesome. Now, if I die halfway through it, it's much better than an average person dying without even realizing their personal legend. I at least died in the journey to my personal legend. So long story short, yes, there's a ton of external factors, but reaction is still under your control.
It's interesting because the story goes back to like where he started, right? So your point A to B is a little bit of A to B to A, right? Like,
but point A equals, let's call it point B equals point A. So does points matter anymore? What matters is the journey.
I guess there's that one adage where it's like, if you're looking at someone's tombstone, it's not the first date or the last date that matters, but it's the line in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What happened? What's your experience? Did you travel to Egypt? Did you get robbed? Did you travel to Oasis? Did you meet your love of the life? Did you fall in love with her eyes? It's as good as a delicious meal. It's so beautiful. It's as good as a painting. It's beautiful. It's just so beautiful. So fucking beautiful. Every day in life is like that, you know, with the seasons and everything. Holy shit, it's so beautiful. You know, like, yeah, I wish if I could live like an alchemist for 200 years. I love life, you know.
I think you have a really cool view of the world, because I think regardless of whatever happens to you, you will forever talk about that story. And yeah, I think your passion for life and your outlook and your positivity and all those things probably won't fade because you're so focused on that bigger picture.
That's what I want.
That's cool.
That's what I want till I die, you know. That's what I want. And people tell me, like, you know, when you get married, when you have a life partner, things like that. I don't want it to change. That's like, yeah, it's just, this is what I want. This is what I want the most. Like, it's just what I want the most. People say when you have kids, that's going to change. I'm like, I don't want it to change. I don't not want it to change. Right. I'm hoping these are average people who doesn't know any better, who are the kind of people who doesn't go for their personal legend. So they say that. I hope my experience is different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a story that I'm thinking of that talks about relationships.
Do you like the Alchemist story?
I do. I really do.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
You've sold me on reading the book. I mean, I know the ending now, but I'll have to...
It's not about the ending. Trust me, it's just beautiful literature.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful literature.
Do you have it? I'll have to borrow it.
I don't have the book. I listen. An Audible. Yeah. I don't listen. I don't read. I just listen. Yeah, and every time I listen, Jill, like, there's parts of the story to this day, like, I'm reading it, listening to it like 7th time. There's parts of the story I've never heard. There's parts of the story that I've never heard. It's insane to me.
It has a different meaning every time.
Yeah, it's very important. Like, you know, it's just, I feel like now I'm realizing listening to a book or reading a book versus understanding a book is totally different. And as you become better, the book also changes, evolves with you. Certain things the authors say might be too hard at first, and then you get to that level and then you go, fuck. Yeah.
Or things you don't even notice, maybe. Things that totally went over your head before, then now all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
That's, I think you listened to it, but Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. That's that one for me.
Yeah?
Yeah. Every time I listen to it, or every time I read it. I'm always taking notes in the margins, and I'm always trying to, like, pick up something new.
I cut you off. You were about to say a story about a relationship, I guess.
Yeah, just there's this concept of just the fruit of different kinds of relationships, and you can enter into a relationship that is, you know, it's for the purpose of financial stability and companionship and all those things, and that's like it's compared to wine. So that's your base level wine. It's fine. It's good with dinner. It's great to have in the house, but it's not going to be a wine that you brag about or tell all your friends about. Or you can have this kind of quality of relationship that's like a fine wine. But a fine wine takes a lot more precision to create. So the grapes have to be grown in a certain way, and the harvest has to be done in a certain way. And so there's all these concepts of how much goes into creating this perfect wine that then once you have, it's like an experience like no other. And it's not your daily drinking wine. It's not your, like, it's fine, it does its job. It's something above that. But there's so much that goes into it. And so anyway, this concept was applied to relationships, where you can have that relationship that meets your needs, or you can have that relationship that's like a fine wine. But that relationship is going to take a considerable amount more work. it's going to be that much more and that much more precision and just the right conditions to create kind of that perfect wine. But I'm thinking of that analogy, I think, because of what you just said of, you know, these people who are out there and saying, like, when you have kids, that's the pinnacle of your life. And that's when everything falls into place. And that's when everything gets better. And then you have, I think you do have those adventurers or those people who have taken it a step farther and have found meaning outside of those other experiences. And so I think it's that idea, like, your life can be satisfied by children, or it can be satisfied by a relationship, but that's for you, that's success, and that's satisfactory, that's enough, that meets your needs, that's on your level. And if you want more, and if you want anything beyond that, if you want that fine wine quality of life, it's going to take so many more factors. It's going to take so much more precision, so much more work. But once you get there, it might be a quality that those people who are experiencing that everyday life aren't going to understand.
Okay. You're the one who's expert here because you went to school for psychology, and right? But let me go a bit deeper on that.
Mm-hmm. Please.
So there's this concept about codependence, independence, interdependence. Codependent is when two people are dependent on each other, right? They need each other, right? Then you have independence. Independence is where you are independent in terms of, let's say, independent financially. You are independent in terms of processing your thoughts. That's a big one. Right? You don't project your insecurities when you have a problem, when you're frustrated. You don't immediately point fingers. You introspectively look at it yourself and go, what is causing this problem? And then you try to figure out a solution for it, right? So you're able to independently process your feelings, you're independent emotionally, and all that sort. Now, a relationship is at its best when two independent people come together to create something better than what they already have individually. Now that's interdependence. Two independent individuals coming together to create something better. Now let me give you an example, real life example, right? Most of my relationship these days, strong relationship, the people I spend intentional time with, because again, like I cannot like reiterate like enough. So if you look at my lock screen, so here it's all about your journey, and over there it says time is worth more than money, right? So all my intentional time that I spend with people are with really good relationships that I have, whether it's with you, like every single experience we have had, we're gonna cherish.
Weird. Yeah.
Right?
We've had these crazy
Unique experiences
every time.
Every single time, right?
Yep.
Meaningful.
Yep.
Right? None of them were casual.
No.
Now, I have another friend, Harry. Interesting individual. He went to military, Canadian Armed Forces, I believe. Then he was a missionary. He's 23, he's married, he has a kid. He's now a mortgage agent. That's where I met him. We went out last Saturday and the Saturday before. We were trying to learn fishing. So when I was out with Harry, was it last Saturday? No, it was the Saturday before. We went out. We started walking. We started having conversation. Fanshawe conservation. It started raining, and we decided to watch rain. In the rain, we were all wet, like shoes, socks, everything. We were watching there. We sat down on a chair by the pond, and we watched the rain. We watched the thunderstorm, like sitting in a movie theater. And we were walking around, and we struck a conversation, and he explained one Bible verse to me, basically Adam and Eve, and how the snake or the serpent forced or kind of persuaded Eve to eat the fruit that was not supposed to be had. And he explained to me, he broke it down for me. Basically what the serpent used is basically told Eve that she could become like God. She could judge good versus bad, right? And that's why God didn't want you to have it. Now, why is that? Because if you start judging things on a superficial level, your experience, your life experience is going to be so limited. Think about it. If you start judging like God, this is good, this is bad, your life experience is not going to be as good as the other person who doesn't judge. I believe one of the strongest reasons I'm happy and I'm constantly becoming more happier about life, and I love life and I want to live 200 years, that's what I want to do, is because I don't judge as much as I used to. I sign up for experiences. Again, I'm intentional. Before I used to sign up for things I want to and I didn't want to. Now I only sign up for the things that I want to do, without judging it. But you experience life better when you don't judge, right?
When you don't assign meaning.
When you don't judge upfront,
Yeah.
right? Now, the take on religion for me is 4,000 years ago, people used to look at sun and worship sun. We look at them and call them barbarians. 2,000 years from now, people are going to look back and go, oh, there's stupid people who used to think a guy died and rose back to life in 3 days. Barbarians. They're going to call us barbarians, right? That's going to happen most likely. These are all man-made. But these books, Bible, I haven't read anything else, but I've read a little Bible. It's a document filled with wisdom. There's so much to learn from. Unfortunately, the priests are like so outdated. They don't. I don't think none of them are doing a really good job at like breaking it down, like Hattie did for me. So what I was coming to at is, look at that, and then we saw a bunch of Iraqi guys and Russian guys fishing. We went and got fishing rod. We spent the whole day together till like 6 p.m. We went to different places. That's the kind of relationships I'm having. That's the only kind of relationships I'm having, and the other relationships I say no to. I don't. I don't want casual relationships. It's just, am I having something meaningful with you? The answer is yes. Okay, we're gonna create memories. Right.
Absolutely, and constantly challenge each other and.
Very intentional. Because that experience is priceless for me. The moments I spend with Harry, it's absolutely priceless. Right? The last time we hung out, what do you call it? What was that? Northern Lights? Priceless experience.
Unreal. Unforgettable.
And it was everything we did that day, right? Like you can recall almost every single thing. We drove, we started walking, we had a great conversation. We stopped by at the wooden locks above the swamp. We listened to music. We had a very interesting conversation, right? And then we went up and sat on the stairs, and the Northern Lights just showed up for us. And then you wanted to be heard, and then I listened to you the whole time. And then we went and saw Tesla dancing, and then we drove back. See that? The question I ask is like, do I come back with these stories when I spend time with this person?
I like that. I guess that goes back to like your sense of control over your life and like, I don't know, yeah, like cultivating relationships and finding meaningful experiences throughout your life.
It's easy, Jill. You just have to be honest to yourself.
What do you mean by that?
Where is these, like, what's your not temptation, what are you trying to do here? What is stemming this need for doing this particular activity? Is it stemmed from a place of, oh, I'm lonely, so I just want comfort, let me hang out with someone? When I hang out with you, it's stemming from a place where it's, I want to hang out with Jill. There's no other side intentions there. Well, I'm going to hang out with Jill, and also I'm going to get her help doing something. I'm going to hang out with Jill, and I'm going to make her fall in love with me. Like, there's no, it's just straightforward. Like it's very. I'm gonna hang out with Jill. I'm gonna use her to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, some people are even delusional, like to realize they're using someone, but it's about. That's the other thing, Jim Brown. It's all not positive and butterflies everywhere. There's positive and negative. So you kind of have to understand both, right? So coming back to this, like you be honest with yourself. Okay, I want to spend time with Jill because I want to spend time with Jill. I want to hang out with Harry because I want to hang out with Harry. There's no other objectives other than just doing that. Now when I'm there, I take my phone, it's silent. I'm not sitting there and texting somebody when I'm hanging out with Harry. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not like, I have to do this, I have to get home and I have to complete 3 mortgage applications. No, I am with Harry. 100% I am with Harry. Harry has a kid. He hangs out with me, right? He says, my kid is sick last week. His mom was pissed. He was hanging out with me. He goes, my kid is sick. Kid is young, right? Like 8 or 9 months. The kid just wants to spend time with his mom. There's nothing I can do. Interdependence. Not codependent. His wife said, go out, go fishing. Interdependence, not codependent. Right? And it's also about raising interdependent, like whether the relationship, every single relationship we have should be interdependent. You're not dependent on me, I'm not dependent on you. We are two different independent individuals who are coming together only to create something better than what we already have. Whether it's the podcast we're doing right now or the hangouts we're doing, we're two independent individuals coming together to create something better.
I think the thing that throws me is that people can be in that place of codependence and that can be healthy for them and that can be good for them and that can be okay for them. But I think you and I get along because we have that understanding that what is okay or acceptable or contentment for other people isn't for us. I think that's what I'm coming to realize.
What is more sustainable?
I think it depends on who you are, because I think if your expectations are, I'm here to exclusively be needed by somebody else, you're going to really enjoy having time with somebody who's codependent. And they're going to enjoy you for the same purpose.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think similarly to exactly what you're saying, again, those people who are saying, you know what, have a kid, it'll change your life. That's everything. That's success. That's, you've made it. Are also people who would be content with that. When there is a range of experiences and a range of individuals, and if my life was boiled down to a successful relationship, it probably wouldn't be success for me. Not probably, it wouldn't be success for me.
Let me give you a hypothetical example. Okay, this is a hypothetical example. For me, what's important to me is actually chasing my purpose. That's what does it for me. That's what's most important. That's number one priority. It's not the relationships. It's not my friends. It's not my family. It's none of that stuff. It's that. That's supreme. Everything else is secondary, right? All my choices are going to be aligned with that, even if the consequences is not, in favorable of any other pieces, right? Now, what if I meet a girl whose dad is basically creating a family? She wants to raise a beautiful family. That's her objective, right? That's her goal, right? She doesn't want to be, she doesn't want to be a provider. She doesn't want to, she doesn't want to work. Her whole purpose is going to be create a beautiful home, build a beautiful family in it, right? Now, if you look at it, she's not a provider, right? She needs a partner who's a provider. I feel like someone like that would fit me perfectly, right? Now, I am the provider, right? For an external person, that's codependence, right? Because I cannot primarily focus on family. I will be there, but that's not going to be my priority. For an external person, that's a codependence. But within the relationship, we're independent and interdependent. Because that's what she wants. This is what I want. Independent. Interdependent to create something better than what we both have independently or individually. So for you to look at it, you would say, yeah, codependence.
Mm-hmm.
For us, within the relationships, that's independent and interdependence.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it's that measure of like, again, success is different things for different people. I think codependence works for some relationships, whether that's within the relationship or from somebody looking at it from the outside and calling it codependence. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But within the relationship, are you both getting what you want individually?
Right.
Individually. Being true to yourself, being honest to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right? Okay, so if this girl, well, I really want to be a doctor, known for my service, but I'm gonna take care of him. Now, all right, that's codependence, great, but that's not independent or interdependent because this is not what she wants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's hard too because I think there's, like, as you were talking about it, I think there's different, like, depending on what those drives are for people or depending on that situation, like, for that scenario of the person who is trying to create a perfect family, they would also require a certain degree of compromise from the other person who's focused on their other goals. Like, I think it's...
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't get everything you ask for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, what's your supreme
Right.
priority?
Right.
My supreme priority is family. My supreme priority is my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be aligned. Okay, your supreme priority is family, so you might have to compromise on everything underneath, right? But that's fine because this is your supreme priority. Like, you will feel fulfilled if you get... What is supreme priority? Supreme priority is that one thing that if you achieve, everything else doesn't really matter.
Mm.
And if you achieve everything but that, you're not going to be fulfilled.
Mm.
So that's supreme priority.
I think it's hard because there's needs, right? Like, there's so many different needs that come into play. So even if you are achieving that, well, I guess it's that question of what does that supreme priority look like? Because within that need for family, what are the values that are encompassed in that? What are the needs that are encompassed in that for that person? Maybe those needs are to have an attentive husband. Maybe the needs are to have somebody who's home with them, or whatever that looks like too. And so I think that it's hard because I think what I'm saying is that interdependence, I think it's not easily achieved. I think it's something that you have to go through. I think it goes back to that, like, cultivating the right conditions, the right perseverance, the right understanding of this is the moment that I'm going to have to sacrifice my supreme priority, and this is the moment you're going to have to sacrifice a bit for yours. And I think there has to be that.
I don't... Okay, so this is the way I look at it, okay? You turned 18. Now I'm 26. You're around the same age, or like I'm turning 27, you're turning 28, right? Like, we're around the same age. Now we are stepping on and realizing who we are as people.
Mm-hmm.
We're evolving, we're understanding what's important to us, like what matters to us, what are our values, what are our principles. We're setting it in stone. We're saying no to those things we don't want. We're saying yes to the things we want.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting into that clarity, and as we're getting more older and older, I feel like that's going to enhance, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different for a relationship. When it starts, it's going to be a baby. You spend like 6-7 years dating. Now by the 7th year, you're getting to a point, or like, I don't know how long it takes, right? But let's say 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years. And by the 6th year, now you get to a point where you have to individually be able to process feelings. Now we have to be in a relationship and be able to process those feelings, right? You evolve again on a different spectrum. And then you get to a point where you have, where it's also a common objective. Okay, and part of interdependence is, okay, let me support you achieve your goal, which is having a family. Let you support me achieve my goal, which is getting to my purpose. Right. Are we signing up for this? Okay, if so, let me put a ring on that finger. Let's call this a commitment relationship. I don't want to fool around. I'm done. If not, I know it's going to be tougher, but let me go for it myself. Because if I sign up for this without having your full support, then it's actually going to not let me go to my personal legend. I want to go like Fatima, who lets his husband go to his personal legend. Right. She didn't say, stay back. You're rich, you got 50 gold coins. let's have a family here. No, you go, I'll wait for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think within that too, it's your own independent evolution is the important part of it, like being able to process those feelings, being able to say like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice this, because again, like she did, she said, go do your thing, like I'm going to wait for a year. So that was her saying, you are my dream, you are my supreme priority, and I'm going to put you on pause, like I'm going to put my dream on pause.
No, that's her
for
dream.
This time that you can go. Yeah,
that's her dream, having
Absolutely.
him,
right?
But she wants to have a complete relationship, like a full-on, like wholesome relationship, and she understands he would only be able to provide that if he fulfills his personal legend.
I think the place I come back to is that can't be every relationship. I think it has to be, I think that is an active choice.
That's what I want. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm willing to work hard for it.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I'm 26. I'm decently looking, right? Like, but I'm still working out like 5 days a week, on top of the business I'm trying to build. It's not comfortable. It's uncomfortable. But this is, if I want something, I need to pay the price for it, and this is the price. I need to work on myself, like constantly evolving. I need to be able to understand, like process my emotions. The other day we had a conversation, and I was in a delusion with that spec, and you helped me see through that. So I need to get better at those things, like the way it doesn't really, the attachment style of my parents doesn't really matter at this point. I don't want to fall victim to my past. I want to create what I want in my future, for which I need to get better, and I'm willing to get better, right? And for those people who are not willing to get better, this is not their path, which is totally understandable, right? Like, but here's the thing: if you know, you know. If you know, you know, and if you know and you ignore it, you're gonna become resentful. You're gonna regret. And these signs and the way right now universe is helping me left, right, and center. Universe will stop helping me because I didn't listen to the signs of universe. All these cool experiences I'm having, I believe it's because I listen to the signs of universe. I kind of like I go at it. I don't ignore the signs.
You're actively choosing into what the universe is giving you.
Exactly. Constantly. Left, right, and center. Right? I would be super comfortable with a brokerage in Brampton which is filled with 700 agents, like from a ton of people from my community. I choose to come to this brokerage, and it's a unique experience. I have a huge culture shift, which I thought I was past that stage when I was done with school and I worked for a corporate. Now I'm working with individuals, but even corporate, I felt like they were far too liberal, as in they kind of tried to accommodate. But now I work with a bunch of people who don't have to accommodate, because these are all self-employed individuals. I'm not working for them, so they don't have to kiss my ass. I don't have to kiss their ass. So they are true to themselves. Now I have to get to a point where I am, I've realized myself and I am cool with them. So I'm like, all right, this is another learning curve I have to face now. Right?
There is a cool thing I think that happens in terms of the universe helping you, in that, I think for every fight that you go up against, you've been prepared for. The universe has helped prepare you for that in previous experiences.
Absolutely.
I think that's the cool thing. There's nothing in my life that I could have done earlier than I did.
Yeah, and if you look at Harry or you, I feel like that's a common thread we have. We're independent thinkers, and I'm not I'm not playing your game. You're not playing my game. Harry's not playing my game. I'm not playing Harry's game. It's all different games, and it's just. But we go for what we want, and we choose to take that unique path. Yeah. And the people around you, some people will evolve with you. Some people don't, and the people who won't gets left behind, and that's just. It's sad, but it is what it is.
I think,
you remember all your high school friends? How many of you are like, one of my few of my best memories are from high school. How many of those people do I see these days? You think that's because it's been a while? It's been 10 years. What do you think is going to happen when you're 36? How many of these people are seeing in your 20s are going to be there when you're 30? Mid 30s. How many of these people in mid 30s are going to be there when you're mid 40s? Right?
I think it's also cool how, like, again, I think as you're saying, like, keeping quality people in your life and pursuing that and finding these moments with different individuals and saying, hey, I want more of that, or hey, we challenge each other enough that I want to see what happens with this. I think the cool thing about that is that you are an active participant in that journey too. So there is so many times that I will kind of make the decision of like, oh, this person is probably not going to continue in my life. I don't think that our relationship is going to continue, our friendship is going to continue, and then they'll surprise me. And sometimes, maybe this is arrogant of me, but sometimes I attributed that to my own growth and my own progress. I've changed so much in this last year. It's kind of unreal. And I think what's cool is that I've also seen people in my life who I never thought would change also start to change. And sometimes I see that as a direct result of conversations that we've had, or of how I'm showing up in my life in a new and vulnerable way. And I think that's pretty cool too. It's
about 1000% being honest with yourself, I feel like. Can I give you an example?
Please.
Okay. You remember the conversation we had about that friend of mine where we said, hey, listen, you were saying you want the qualities of this person, but you don't want this person. You remember the conversation we had? Okay, we were supposed to hang out last Saturday. Okay? I had a conversation with this person on Friday. And I had a breakthrough experience, like where whatever you said connected at that point. And the conversation was more so about like, at this point that person is trying to find a life partner. And this person wants to travel somewhere, and the life partner had made a previous comment about how traveling to certain places is not okay with him, right? So she calls me and she asks me for my feedback on it, right? Like, okay, so what do you think? So after this conversation, and then I had a conversation which she didn't connect with, right? But then I was like, okay, it was done, and then I thought about it, and I went, okay, this person is trying to find a life partner, right? She's extremely raw with me. She tells me everything, right? And now she's asking for my perspective on this person who could potentially be her life partner, which I find messed up because that's going to take away from her experience, right? And she should not be relying on me for all this. She should actually give that opportunity to this potential life partner so they have a stronger bond. I shouldn't be that person. That takes away from the experience, right? Now, what's my intention of hanging out with her? Can I not have the same things that I'm about to do with her with any other person? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing. Everything I thought like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I can do that with any person and I'll have a very similar experience. So what's my need for doing this? Oh, it's because I want her to fall in love with me. Okay. All right. Now I'm like, okay, so this is going to take time and energy away from me finding my life partner too. So it's a lose-lose. So I canceled it. I used an excuse, but I canceled it. Because I realized it's a lose-lose. It's not a win-win. Right? So it's about watching for yourself and actually being honest about things and like making that decision. Okay, is it a win-win? Is the experience going to leave positive impact on both of our lives? Right? Will it? The answer is no. Why spend time? Life is short. You don't have a lot of time.
And why am I doing the things that I'm doing?
Exactly. Why am I doing the things that I'm doing?
Yeah.
And if you're honest about it, yeah, it's tough.
I think sometimes you can be honest about it too, and then still decide to do the thing anyway. Of like, this isn't in my best interest, or I'm making this decision poorly, but you know what? I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna see what happens. I think that happens sometimes too. I think that's okay. But
that happens as long as it's a one-off. I mean, that's okay as long as it's a
Sure.
one-off.
Yeah.
If it continues to be, right?
Right.
Like, look at us.
Mm.
We started off dating, right?
Yeah.
Then we got to a point where we clearly identified that's not the route,
Yes.
right? And I'm
I was
hoping.
thinking about that. Our last podcast was, I think, right around that time. But anyway.
And you're fine, I'm fine, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because we were honest about it.
Yeah.
We respected each other's thing, and we went like, okay, that's.
Yeah. And how much richer is it as a friendship? It's nice.
Exactly.
It's nice.
Yeah, so it's being honest, man. Like, it's just my wallpaper was actually like be brutally honest before this. That's another thing. Like, whatever I want to think and like become, I put there, like, don't be afraid of failure. No, I'm not afraid of failure. So yeah, I put it there, and then subconsciously like see it, and just finally it's just
It sinks in.
it sinks in. Yeah.
I think it's interesting to me because my whole life, people have always told me I'm very teachable. Like, I'll go into different situations, or I've always had a mentor. I love having mentors. I love having people who are wise be able to speak into my life. And everybody's always told me I'm very teachable. So I'm open to feedback. I'm open to whatever they have to give me, whatever wisdom that is. And I think that's true. Like, I think I am. Very teachable, but I think you were so much more because I think it's that logic brain too, but you decide something and you say, this is going to be my next thing and this is going to be important to me. And then you just put it in practice and you're like, okay, it's done. Check. I can move on to the next right now, which is not how most people operate. I think you should know that. I think a lot of people, it takes a long time to learn those lessons, or it takes a long time to like put things in practice.
Yeah, I guess that's where, like, you're. I don't know. That's where you have to find a mix. Like, you could be an intellectual, but you also have to. The other part of the story is still the alchemist. He goes like, okay, teach me this. Like, why don't you teach me life? The boy asks the alchemist, and the alchemist says, no, boy, you don't get it. Life is the biggest teacher. If you want to learn, you got to do the activity. It's about 5 things. Jim Rohn, okay? Philosophy. How we think. Attitude. How we feel. Activity. The things we do. Result. That's the name of the game. 5, lifestyle. And it's about doing well and living well. Yeah, so tying it back to whatever I was saying, you only learn when you do. Okay, so I was sitting here and teaching people mortgages, and I went out there and to this park and talked to random people, and I was like, holy shit, I was so outdated. I was so fucking outdated. What the fuck was I talking? Because, see, in this world, at this point, Jill, consumers are more updated than the service providers. Why? Because I, as a service provider, only listen to my own voice. I think I'm the best. Consumer don't spend this much time on the craft, or they don't obsess about themselves. They spend a ton of time in social media. They listen to Spenson, they listen to Alex Rodriguez, they listen to this guy, they listen to BEC. After 10, this guy knows, like, he's more updated. I'm not saying they know more than me in my craft. I mean, I spent a considerable amount of time, but he's more updated than me. So if I go with my traditional linguistic, the consumer is not going to be impressed. Well, I'm just another guy on the street. But when I get out there and when I meet these people in person, that's when I realize, holy shit, these guys are actually updated, like. See, life, that's life. I can be an intellectual, sit here and plan. Look at ChatGPT, right? What that street video taught me in 3 hours is actually 100 times more than what I've learned myself. It's just. And the use of that, right? Like, whatever I speak in this room and talk to people, they cannot relate to it. They look up to it. Oh yeah, it's a cool video, and they just let me watch the next video. This one, no, you were actually, yeah, he's right. You were engaging with the video because you could relate to the content. See, I learned that from this experience.
Yeah, I guess it is that. I don't know. It's that concept. I don't know. Humans are messy. We don't know anything. We've just made everything up. It's all just, I don't know.
No, it's
ideas
so what
that have come into being.
No, what we were talking about is actually like about teachability.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like life is the best teacher. You just have to submit yourself to the life.
For sure.
Sign up for things. Just survive. Just try to survive. Go to a dance class if you want to learn dancing, and just try to survive. I went to speed dating 2 times. One was for making friends, another one was for dating, right? And like I was nervous as fuck. I was so nervous. I was super nervous. I went the first time. I had a great experience. All I tried to do was, okay, I just need to survive. I need to spend that 1.5 hours here. Survive. Second time I went, speed dating. You get to speak to every girl for 5 minutes. Spoke to like 13 girls. I had great conversation. I only put down 3 girls' name. I matched with all 3. Just survive. Just have fun with it. The premise is already set. These girls are interested in meeting guys. So you just have to have a conversation. You don't have to use one-liners. You don't have to do this. Just have a fun conversation for 5 minutes. See the vibe. And move on.
That's awesome. I think those are the experiences that you'll remember too. Which is cool.
Yeah, I add back to point A to point B. Okay, I went for speed dating. That's cool.
Yeah. It's part of your story now.
It's part of my story now, yeah. So I'm handpicking. It's almost like I'm walking around with a shopping cart, which is like things to my story. Okay, do I want to have this in my story? No, fuck no. Let's. All right. Oh yeah, that's cool. Let me have that to my story.
I think it's interesting, like the lens in which you view the world too. Like your worldview shapes and changes so much of your experiences as well. I think that's what we've already touched on and talked about, but I think it's also, it continues to surprise me how when I change the way that I look at the world, how much the world seems to change.
Exactly, Jill. So that's external factors for you. That's external factors for you.
Yeah.
You answered your own question. Yeah.
There's some ideas too in terms of like just trauma literature and again my psychology nerd coming out, but if you are consistently in a trauma state, if you're consistently in a state where, again, same thing, you haven't had your needs met, the way that you view the world is different. So if you're in a situation, somebody might have a happy face, but because of your experiences, you'll actually view them as being angry or mad at you. And that's kind of that idea of like that lens in which you see the world. And so whatever lens you have on can actually dramatically shift your perspective and can dramatically shift like literally how you perceive people around you and the world around you and all those things, which is wild to me. But
I was not born with this lens.
Tell me about that.
2 things, right? So I'll keep it very short. 2 things, 2 experiences. Number 1, I stepped into Canada. And I was like, nobody knows who the fuck I am. Nobody. Here. Nobody. I'm in Kitchener. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody. I don't have my friends. It's not my neighborhood. Nobody knows who I am. They're not going to see my parents. They're not going to see anyone from. So I can be whoever the fuck I want to be.
It's like a fresh start.
Number 2, sitting down, having a conversation, and I'm complaining about how my friends are not helping with me with my project. This guy from my part of the world goes, Spenson, you're super negative. If you are not from my part of the world, we speak the same language. That's the only reason I'm sitting here. If not, I would have just get up and left. you're super negative. Flip switched. Let me have positive perspective. My lens changed. Life throws this at you. It's the way you react. I could add these baggage back to the existing negative perspective that I had, the negative lens. Oh, nobody knows me, or I'm homesick, like, oh my God, I have no friends. Oh, he says I'm negative, okay. I didn't know. I just, okay, fuck it. I'm going to go the other way. Right? How did that happen? To this day, I don't know.
That was going to be my next question.
But it happened. I don't know how it happened. It just happened. But what should you take from it? Anyone can change their lens.
Right.
You're living in Canada, you're surrounded with, like, you're in London, you're surrounded with people, and you're like, this is bad, all right, you're not able to change your lens because your neurons are wired a certain way, and you constantly come back to those emotions as you see different places. Take your bag, pack your bag, and go to fucking Australia. Like, you're 25, you have like another 50 healthy years of your life left. Don't make that the story for the next 50 years. You still have double the time you have spent already. Get a fresh start if that's what it takes for you to have fresh lens. Or move down to fucking, like, east of Toronto. Like, you don't even have to go to Australia. Like, just change your lens. Like, if the environment is a factor which is not letting you change the lens, change the environment. What is stopping you? Like, just you're the captain of your ship. Like, it's just
That's cool. It's almost that idea of, like, if you can't do it within yourself, then make it an external factor. Like, actively put yourself in a different place so that you're forced to change.
Yeah. Fresh starts help. I've heard this about Europeans. Like, they tend to move places in 5 or 10 years for a fresh start. They sometimes do that. Yeah, it helps. See, when you're stuck in a place, your neurons are wired a certain way, like, and human brain seeks comfort, like, and you see a certain place that certain emotion evokes. Now, if you want to break that chain, changing the scenery would definitely help. But you have to change the scenery. It's still not external, it's still internal. You have to pack your bags, you have to move, you have to leave your comfort behind. You have to make new friends, you have to make new neighborhoods. Now I'm far away from the friends that I've made in London, now I have to make new friends there. Maybe I only get to spend 1 or 2 days, like maybe I only meet the friends from London once or twice a year, that's about it. You have to make those choices, but it's your life, it's your journey, it's not theirs. It depends on what you want, like, it's about, like, figuring that piece out first. What is it that you want? Right? And how do you figure that out? There's no rule book for it. You have to constantly ask that question in everything you do. Why did someone put me on this earth? Out of the countless sperm that went into my mom's womb, why did I survive? Why was I born? What is it I want to do? Right? Or even if I don't want to do anything for the world, how do I want to live? Because you can 1000% design the life you want, the way you want it.
There's a really cool book called Let Your Life Speak. And the author goes through and talks about how he determined calling and how he determined his calling. It's one of my favorite books. It's really short. It's easy to read. But it's that concept of, if you look at your life and you look at your life when you were 5, 6, 7, you were doing things and you were showing up in the world in a certain way. And so this author's theory is that you actually are born with this life force, and it's within you. And what happens over life is that the world starts to dull that, and starts to dull how you show up in the world and what that looks like. And so his theory is that essentially it's your job then to dig through everything that the world has dulled and let your life speak, let your life force speak, and let that be the purpose that drives your life. And so he talks about, like, the ways that he knew certain things weren't for him. And, he tried to be a dean of a college, and that wasn't the job for him because of all of these different factors and all of these ways that he was failing and the pit of depression that he fell into and all of these pieces that should have told him that these things weren't for him. And instead to go back to his, 14-year-old self who was building books about model airplanes, but he was building books. And so he is now an author and says, like, if I looked back at my life, I could have taken from that I wanted to be a pilot, that I was making these books about model airplanes. But every other boy in my age was also making, model airplanes. They were obsessed with planes, all those things. I didn't want to be a pilot. I wanted to be an author because I was spending the time creating these books and putting my time and my energy into creating these books about the model airplanes. And so he talked about all of these different points throughout his life that he says you could look at this and you could take that surface level thing, I wanted to be a pilot or I wanted to be a doctor or whatever that is. Or you can kind of go to the root of it and find, well, what's the reason that I did those things? And how was I showing up in the world? And how was my life force, kind of speaking? And what can I take from that? And so he has come to this place where he's like, I've found my purpose and I found my calling and I've reached that plane. And I think that idea is really beautiful of like, you can look back at yourself and notice how you showed up in the world from a young age. Like from a young age, I was doing science experiments on color theory and how different colors made different people feel. Like that was a science experiment that I did when I was in grade 8. I won awards for it. It was pretty cool. But from then, from grade 8, I was there experimenting with psychology. Like it's always been there. And you could take from that I wanted to be a scientist, or you could take from that I wanted to, I was really passionate about color theory. But the root of it is that I wanted to understand how people felt. And I did that in so many different ways throughout my life. I wanted to be a journalist. I didn't want to be a journalist. I wanted to be able to write research papers. I wanted to be able to talk to people and understand their experience and then transcribe it or explain that to other people. Like all throughout my life, there's like these threads of counseling and these threads of psychology. And I can look back and see those things. But it's hard in the moment to then go, okay, where is this taking me? And how do I keep moving this forward? How do I move closer to that life force, to that thing, to that, the purpose, like you were talking about, that ultimate life thing?
Yeah. I think it's very important because when you're aligned with it, life is enjoyable. It's beautiful. When you're not aligned with it, it's miserable. You just want to die as soon as possible. Because life is a mystery. You feel like when I'm dead, it's all going to go. But it's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be, fuck, this is beautiful. Like, imagine, watching a 2.5 hour really good, or 2 hour really nice movie. The amount of emotions you're having. You're happy, you're sad, you're laughing. Or a movie like Tropic Thunder, you're laughing the whole time. It's such a wonderful movie, right? But that is life. 75, 80 years. Your movie. You're supposed to enjoy it like that, and that only comes when you're aligned with, where you want to go. Yeah. Far too many people tie down. There's a lot of reasons for it, right? Like whether that may be the expectations. Maybe I'm winding down on the expectations set in my heart by movies. I don't know if you've noticed this. You watch any, let's say for instance, any love stories and stuff like that in movies. You have the story, right? And then you watch the movie, and at the end they show the real the real people, pictures, right? And the movie stars definitely look better than the real people, almost all the time. So everything you're seeing is glamorized, made better. Now me being the stupid me, set that as an expectation. Which is far away from reality. It's superficial. That's something I'm working on right now, what is real, you know?
And I think it's that idea too of like where we started this podcast, but you have to be okay being in the uncomfortable and recognize that the uncomfortable is part of the journey. And sometimes it's hard to know when you're in the uncomfortable and when you're in a place that's not aligned.
Yeah.
I think that's hard. And what's reality?
And what's reality? Being true, like, you know, just seeking reality. Yeah. And you want to experience it all, right? Like, you want to be sad. Like, some people don't like sadness. Sadness is beautiful. It's just fucking beautiful. Like, I love when I get sick. I fucking love it. Like, I just sit down. I eat my comfort food. Fuck the diet. Fuck everything out. I eat my comfort food. I'm just like truly enjoying. And then one day goes by, and I'm like, oh, I really want to get back at working, but I cannot. I cannot because I'm sick. So I'm just like, by the time I'm not sick, I'm just so fucking like, you know, like excited to work, because right now I appreciate my health so much, and all I want to do is the things that I enjoy doing, which is working. So I appreciate working so much. Winter and spring, you know, like, so sadness is beautiful. Tough times are beautiful, right? Falling in love is amazing. It's fucking beautiful. Breaking up is also beautiful. It's like flexing your, you know, it's almost like doing weight training, strengthening. You tear up your muscle tissues, and you feed it with protein. You get better, bigger. Same thing. Your heart gets stronger. Oh, that was not it for me. Oh, I just slipped in my virtues and values that fucked me up. Oh, I understand. Never slip away. Don't be a sellout. Don't trade your principles and values for short-term pleasure.
And it never feels like it in the moment, but it feels like it later. It's only after the emotion's passed that you can...
But I learned that when I fucked up multiple times.
Right.
It took me maybe 3 fuck-ups to realize it. But if I didn't go through that 3 fuck-ups, I wouldn't realize it. Right. I feel like a lot of people are set in their constraints. Maybe it's cultural, maybe it's religious, which stops them from having these experiences, which means it's like those people who come to me and say, yeah, reading books is a waste of time. So I have the summary app which gives me the pointers. I don't know, buddy, you're missing the whole point, because it's not about those points. It is about the story that helps you retain this information. Bible can be spread into points. Point A, do not judge, go experience. But the whole Adam and Eve story, that's why this thing lasted 2,000 years, because they put into a fucking story for a reason. Because stories stick, points don't.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing, you know, like...
It's interesting, too, because that thing within us that makes us remember stories, and that makes stories so special and needed and necessary for us, is that we connect to emotion. And that is our primary instinct. That's why stories retain for us, is because we can connect to an emotion that somebody has felt. And like, as much as we try and avoid that sadness, or we don't want to go through that breakup, or all of those things, at the same time, when you're watching a movie and somebody's going through a breakup, your heart is breaking for them, but you're loving the story, and it draws you in and it brings you in. And so it's interesting as you're saying that too, like stories, our stories, for them to be rich and beautiful, and that whole journey to be a full experience, it has to have all of those things. It has to have those breakups and those hard times and those learning moments.
Absolutely.
For it to be something worthwhile.
100%.
As impossible as that is to realize in the moment.
Yeah. Embarrassing moments, a shit ton. Probably I'm not proud of, a shit ton.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't share how maybe some of those stories with my parents. Like there are stories like that.
And things that maybe you wish weren't part of your story, but they needed to be, and they taught you something.
Yeah, I've shared like a detail with you, right, in my childhood. Right?
Yes.
Out of all the people, I have all the reasons to be a victim for the rest of my life. But I said, fuck it. See, like, those things, you know, that builds your character. if I come from that, I'm here. I'm already winning in my life. Everything from here and more moving forward is a bonus.
Mm.
And I'm going to take all those bonus and then some.
Mm.
That's wrap. Good chat.
Good chat.